Oda Nobunaga, a Japanese warlord who is said to have lost his life in the incident at Honnoji. However, if he had survived, how might the history of Japan and the world have changed? The survival of Oda Nobunaga and the transformation of the Sengoku period. If Oda Nobunaga had survived the incident at Honnoji, the Sengoku period in Japan would have undoubtedly undergone significant changes. Firstly, Nobunaga's innovative leadership and tactics would have continued to greatly influence the daimyo across Japan. With Nobunaga's survival, the most notable change would likely be the further advancement towards realizing his ideal of Tenka-fubu, unifying the country through military might. During the Sengoku period, Nobunaga introduced the organized use of ironclad troops and new tactics, overwhelming the feudal lords who relied on traditional cavalry and spear battles. Had he survived, these tactics would have been further refined, and other feudal lords would have had no choice but to follow suit. Furthermore, Nobunaga actively embraced Western culture and technology during the Sengoku period. He deepened interactions with the Portuguese and Spanish, allowing the introduction of matchlock guns and the propagation of Christianity, bringing new technologies and ideas to Japan. Had Nobunaga survived, these exchanges would have further expanded, significantly impacting Japan's technological innovation and cultural development. Furthermore, Nobunaga's survival would likely have influenced his relationships with Toyotomi Hideyoshi and Tokugawa Ieyasu. The history where Hideyoshi rose as Nobunaga's successor, and later Ieyasu established the Edo shogunate, would have changed, as Nobunaga himself might have established a centralized government. As a result, the establishment of the Toyotomi regime and the Edo shogunate might have been delayed or progressed in a completely different form. It is believed that under Nobunaga's rule, reforms of the feudal system in Japan were also advancing. He had already prioritized the improvement of farmers' status and the development of commerce, and his policies led to economic revitalization. Had Nobunaga survived, these reforms would have been further promoted, leading to even greater improvements in the status of farmers and merchants, and the economic development would have accelerated. On the other hand, Nobunaga's strong governance might have also invited opposition to reforms. His thorough centralization and military control might have felt overwhelming to some daimyo and the populace. Therefore, rebellions against Nobunaga and the emergence of opposing forces could be anticipated. If Oda Nobunaga had survived, Japan's Sengoku period might have seen accelerated technological innovation and economic development, along with the advancement of centralization. Furthermore, there would likely have been an expansion in interactions with Western factions, leading to numerous changes. These changes significantly altered Japanese history and may have accelerated the progress of modernization. Nobunaga's innovative ideas and actions likely transformed Japan's future and influenced world history. The potential existence of the Edo period if Oda Nobunaga had survived. If Oda Nobunaga had survived the incident at Honnoji and continued to hold power, the very existence of the Edo period would be in question. Considering Nobunaga's political and military prowess, as well as his innovative thinking, it is intriguing to explore how he governed Japan and how the course of history was altered. Nobunaga's unification and centralization. Had Nobunaga not lost his life at the incident at Honnoji and managed to suppress Mitsuhide Akechi's treachery, he would likely have further advanced the unification of Japan. Nobunaga's goal of Tenka-fubu signified the end of the warring states period, and it is highly likely that national unification under his leadership would have been achieved. Due to Nobunaga's innovative governance methods and the introduction of Western technology, the feudal lords of the Sengoku period successively submitted to him, accelerating centralization. If Nobunaga had survived, Tokugawa Ieyasu might have lost the opportunity to seize power. It is believed that without Ieyasu establishing the Edo shogunate, Nobunaga would have constructed a new political system. Considering Nobunaga's character and policies, he likely aimed to dismantle the feudal system like the Bakuhan system and pursue a more centralized governance. As a result, it is possible that the long period of peace and stability seen in the later Edo period could have been realized under Nobunaga's rule. Nobunaga's policies contributed to the elevation of the status of farmers and merchants, driving economic and social transformation. He encouraged the development of commerce and promoted free economic activities. This suggests that the rise of merchants and the development of castle towns, as seen during the Edo period, were already underway from Nobunaga's era. However, due to Nobunaga's survival, it is highly likely that the policy of national isolation was not implemented. Nobunaga actively embraced Western culture and technology, and it is believed that his successors maintained a similar policy. As a result, Japan expanded incorporated advanced Western technologies and ideas. It rapidly developed both economically and technologically. Social. Under Nobunaga's rule, social and cultural transformations likely progressed swiftly due to these influences. His influence likely led to the gradual abolition of the feudal class system, showing signs of a more egalitarian society forming. The spread of education and improvement in literacy rates were likely advanced as part of Nobunaga's policies. Furthermore, due to Nobunaga's tolerant attitude towards religion, the propagation of Christianity continued, and a pluralistic religious view that coexisted with other religions may have been nurtured. As a result, Japanese culture, while maintaining diversity, likely strengthened its identity as a unified nation. If Nobunaga had survived, beyond the possibilities of the Edo period, his centralized governance and innovative policies might have led to, it is highly likely that a long-term feudal system like the Edo period would not have existed. Under Nobunaga's leadership, an early unified nation would have been formed, accelerating economic and technological development. Japan would have emerged as a country with international influence. If Oda Nobunaga had survived the Honnoji incident, an era equivalent to the Edo period would not have existed. Instead, it is believed that a centralized Japan, established early through Nobunaga's innovative governance, accelerated the progress of modernization. Nobunaga's presence significantly altered the course of history, impacting Japan's society, economy, and culture profoundly. If Oda Nobunaga had survived, the Meiji era might have been different. Had Oda Nobunaga survived the incident at Honnoji and maintained his influence beyond 1582, the Meiji era would have been ushered in a completely different form. Let's consider how Nobunaga's innovative thinking and actions influenced the transition from the Edo period to the Meiji era. Firstly, under Nobunaga's leadership, the beginning of the Edo period would have changed. As a result of Nobunaga's survival, he might have replaced Tokugawa Ieyasu and governed for an extended period, potentially unifying the entire nation of Japan. Nobunaga's policy of centralization would have been strengthened, and the feudal system would have been reformed even earlier. The policies he promoted to improve the status of farmers and develop commerce would have continued throughout the Edo period, solidifying the economic foundation. As a result of Nobunaga's survival, it is highly likely that the isolationist policy of the Edo period would not have been implemented. Nobunaga actively embraced Western culture and technology, and if this had continued, Japan would have reformed early. International trade and technological exchange must have progressed. As a result, the Industrial Revolution began in Japan in the early 19th century, and Japan's industrialization likely accelerated. In Japan, influenced by Nobunaga, it is conceivable that the Meiji Restoration would have occurred earlier. After Nobunaga's death, the leaders who inherited his influence further adopted Western technology. As a result of advancing political reforms, changes equivalent to those of the Meiji era might have been implemented from the late 18th to the early 19th century. During this period, Japan became an industrial nation on par with Western powers, strengthening its influence in the international community. The reforms carried out under Nobunaga's influence likely extended to the education system as well. His sincere temperament and innovative ideas led to the early introduction of a modern educational system. With the improvement in literacy rates, the development of engineers and scientists progressed. As a result, Japan quickly adapted to the wave of modernization, accelerating its development in the field of science and technology. Another significant impact of Nobunaga's survival was Japan's position in international relations. His foreign policy was proactive, and diplomatic efforts to build relationships with Western powers would likely have continued. As a result, Japan became an early founding member of the League of Nations and established its leadership in Asia. The early realization of the Meiji Restoration allowed Japan to stabilize its domestic affairs while also strengthening its influence abroad. Additionally, with its economic and military superiority in Asia, Japan developed as a modern nation. With Nobunaga's ideology at its core, Japan advanced modernization while maintaining a balance between innovation and tradition. If Oda Nobunaga had survived, the Meiji era would have begun earlier, accelerating Japan's modernization. Nobunaga's innovative policies and demand for Western culture would have led Japan to become a powerful economic and military nation, establishing Japan's position in the international community. The possibility of a world war if Oda Nobunaga had survived the Honnoji incident and and continued to govern Japan thereafter. Examining how the world wars developed is an intriguing task. Let's explore the possibilities, considering the impact of Nobunaga's survival on Japan and the international community. Firstly, if Nobunaga had continued to live, it is believed that Japan's modernization and interaction with the West would have significantly advanced. Nobunaga was already actively embracing Western technology and culture, and under his influence, Japan would likely have achieved industrialization early on. As a result, by the latter half of the 19th century, Japan had become a nation with economic and military power, on par with the Western powers. It is anticipated that Japan would establish its leadership in Asia if Japan, influenced by the effects of World War I and Nobunaga, had industrialized early and strengthened its relations with the Western powers. The course of World War I might have changed. Nobunaga's foreign policy was proactive, and Japan, as a member of the Allied powers, would have participated in the war, contributing to its early conclusion. With the addition of Japan's military and industrial strength, the victory of the Allied powers might have been hastened, or the scale of the war itself could have been reduced. After the war, Japan could be considered a founding member of the League of Nations, further strengthening its influence in Asia. Due to Nobunaga's survival, diplomatic cooperation advanced, and Japan came to play an important role in the post-war world order. At this point, if cooperative relations between Japan and Western countries had been established, tensions in the international community would have eased, and it might have become a factor in preventing the outbreak of the next Great War. When considering the impact of World War II and the occurrence of World War II, the focus is on the role Japan, which modernized early and pursued international cooperation under Nobunaga's influence, will play. Under Nobunaga's leadership, Japan maintained a peaceful diplomatic policy, while it is believed to have expanded its international influence based on its economic and technological power. By strengthening its relations with Western powers and taking a leading role in international organizations such as the League of Nations, the issues that led to World War II, such as economic crises and colonial disputes, could have been addressed by the imperial court in response to the rise of nationalism. As a result, it is possible that the World War itself could have been prevented or its scale reduced. The influence of Oda Nobunaga and world peace. If Oda Nobunaga had survived, Japan would have achieved technological innovation and economic development early on, and strengthened its leadership in the international community. This allowed Japan to conduct diplomacy on equal footing with Western powers, and play a crucial role in promoting international cooperation. The peaceful diplomatic policies and international cooperation established under Nobunaga's influence could have been significant factors in preventing the outbreak of world wars. Had Oda Nobunaga survived, the occurrence of World War I and World War II might have been avoided, or, at the very least, their scale and impact would likely have been significantly different. Nobunaga's innovative leadership and global perspective might have contributed to peace in Japan and the world, significantly altering the course of history. If Oda Nobunaga had survived, we consider the impact on modern society and religion. Had he lived through the Honnoji incident, we explore the potential effects on modern society and religion if he had continued to wield influence as a leader in Japan. Let's explore how Nobunaga's innovative ideas and actions brought about changes in modern society in Japan and the world. Impact on modern society. Firstly, if Nobunaga had survived, it is believed that Japan's modernization would have significantly accelerated. Nobunaga actively adopted Western technology, and had this continued, the Industrial Revolution flourished early. Japan would have emerged as a leader in the Industrial Revolution since the 19th century. As a result, Japan developed into a nation with economic power comparable to Western powers, thereby strengthening its influence in the international community. Under Nobunaga's influence, the political system rapidly moved towards centralization. The abolition of the tribute system and the improvement of the status of farmers were realized, thereby strengthening the economic foundation. Modern Japan is considered to have built a prosperous and stable society due to this historical background. Furthermore, due to Nobunaga's influence, the education system was established early, leading to advancements in literacy rates and the development of skilled professionals. This also accelerated progress in the field of science and technology. In terms of diplomacy, if Nobunaga's proactive foreign policies had continued, Japan would have demonstrated peaceful leadership in the international community. it would have played a significant role in international organizations, such as the League of Nations and the United Nations. This has established Japan's position as a symbol of peace and harmony, and even today, it contributes to solving international issues. The impact of Nobunaga's survival on religion is also significant. He tolerated Christianity and deepened exchanges with the West. If Nobunaga's tolerant religious policies continued, the influence of Christianity in Japan would have increased, potentially forming a society where diverse religions coexist. Nobunaga did not show any opposition to Buddhist forces and advanced religious reforms by burning down Enryakuji on Mount Hiei. If he had survived, the political influence of Buddhist forces would have been further reduced, and religion would have had less direct impact on politics. As a result, religion would have remained within the realm of personal faith, and it is believed that it would have developed separately from politics. Furthermore, Nobunaga's tolerant attitude towards religion laid the foundation for a society where diverse religions coexist in modern Japan. His influence may have ensured religious freedom and established a culture where different religions coexist peacefully. As a result, contemporary Japanese society has embraced religious tolerance and can serve as a model for multicultural coexistence. In conclusion, if Oda Nobunaga had survived, Japan would have modernized early and developed into a stable country, both economically and politically. The establishment of the education system and the advancement of science and technology accelerated, allowing Japan to demonstrate peaceful leadership in the international community. Additionally, a tolerant policy in religious matters continued, forming a society where diverse religions coexisted. Nobunaga's influence is deeply rooted in modern Japanese society, and the changes brought about by his innovative ideas and actions continue to hold significant meaning even today.